Welcome back to the Line Opinion Panel. This section of this week's show, we're talking about this year's legislative session with a special panel of former state lawmakers. We've gone over some bills that did not pass. Now let's talk about what did make it through. It is now headed to the governor's desk. The budget bill passed, certainly. That's required by law, Senator Griego. But anything surprising inside that budget bill that jumped out at you?
You know, I think there were some things I think that are, I think will survive a veto, but I think she's probably going to look at some things that she didn't like in there. But that's that's a great example of something where the parties and the two houses know they've got to come together, and usually they do. There've been times when it hasn't happened, but the capital outlay bill that we talked about earlier is very similar. Those are two things that both houses and both leadership have to work together to try to get done. So. That's the least they could do.
Right.
It's happened when it had to, we had to come back into special session. But I mean, I guess to say something positive about this year, at least they got that done.
There you go, Dan. What do you think? Was there anything in the budget that surprised you, or we're just moving on? The budget's the budget.
I think I think every year now it's just becoming a moving on item. I think there's less and less scrutiny of what's going on in the budget. I think there's, I think it's still a shame that the majority of that budget is being crafted by a very few hands. I think that, we talk about capital outlay coming out in the final minutes. It's not that it's the final minutes, but, every time the budget bill comes, when I was in the legislature, you're sitting in the legislature, you're on the House floor, and all of a sudden this giant bill plops on your desk, and the next bill is the budget, and you're like, whoa, what are we doing? Where are we? And, if you're not quick to poke the light and start asking questions to go through it, there's no time. And so I think the budget process in New Mexico, in my opinion, is somewhat flawed. And I think it's flawed because I think there's multiple reasons. One of the reasons I believe is flawed is I don't believe we use truth in forecasting. I think that we kind of decide in the legislature what the number is we want to use, and then we use that number. We say, well, we think gas and oil is going to be worth this by the time the year comes around, so let's use that number. And then we send it up to the governor, and the governor gets to do what they want to do with the bill. I just think that if we talk about transparency, this is a great place to start, which is, the budget should be done. The budget shouldn't be something that's crafted in 3 days in the legislature. It should be something that's a year-long process. People are having input on. The last thing I'll say about the budget that's frustrating to me is we pass things in January. By the time they get the money in April or May, and then they start work and the fiscal year starts July 1, we're back in January saying we want to know how good you did with the money we gave you. You've had 6 months. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think in New Mexico we should be looking at going to a legislature that meets every 2 years instead of every single year.
Yeah, we
that
had
was
this discussion.
exactly the point I was going to make is
I love it.
When you spend this amount of time creating a budget, to know you have to be back in less than 11 months to do the same exercise, it actually destabilizes an awful lot of things. It's very hard for our universities. But the truth of the matter is we work on 5-year projections in the legislature anyway. So actually crafting a 2-year budget, even though the Constitution says we need to do it yearly, you can come back and reconfirm.
Now, the Constitution doesn't mean anything. We
Well,
pass that all the time.
I tread lightly there.
We can amend that any time.
But the truth is, you need to have what is a handshake that we're going to craft a 2-year budget and come back and amend it rather than start over again. But the other thing that is still the truth is 85% of the budget is fixed. It's recurring costs, and there's very little discretion. You're just hoping you can pay the bills. And this year, because oil and gas is so low, I was looking to see how deep the cuts were going to go, and I think there was a lot of agreement.
Isn't that something? Your sense of that one as well. What do you think?
Well, there were very few changes. The Senate made very few changes to the House budget as it came over. And I think that in the past few years, I agree with Dan, that it's been kind of a process where it's preordained what it's going to be. But it is preordained at least now in an open process because the LFC does have hearings throughout the year. Remember, only a few years ago, it was all determined in a closed conference committee.
They'd hear your bill at 3 in the morning and vote, wait for you to go to the bathroom and vote it in or out while you were sitting there. And
I had no idea. No kidding.
The budget differences between the House and the Senate were ironed out in a closed committee and it was usually a conference committee.
Gotcha.
And it was usually the last night of the session. And often new things were put in there that we didn't even know about. And then, as Dan says, both houses were presented with this humongous
800-page
document,
book.
and you
How
were
quick can
really
you read?
you were really discouraged from making any amendments.
As I learned the hard way, you present an amendment, you got the stink eye from the entire body. Right? Like, what are you doing?
I can imagine.
we
imagine.
used to get that thing, and you'd be angry with him. You stand up and you go, Mr. Speaker, will the gentleman from Bernalillo yield on page 2, line 7, section D, and you just hear this.
A couple of the real quick ones that did pass, I want to get around the table real quick. Janice, we got a bill to allow online voter registration. That's interesting. What's your thought on that one?
Well, I was actually very surprising.
Yeah.
So Senator Taraco was actually working with the Secretary of State to work collaboratively with the Motor Vehicle Department, which is a component of the Help America Vote Act.
I see.
So we should have been doing this a couple of years ago. So we're there.
Okay.
But because some bills had failed on the other side, they just hadn't gotten through the system.
Right.
There were some changes that needed to be made in terms of database management. That passed. Way needed. And the way that we treat our military members overseas and the accommodations made were all in this particular bill. And I was very, very pleased. This is a bill that the county clerk said, it's kind of a voter registration cleanup bill. There were some tweaks that the county clerks really needed, but the big one is making the MVD system sync up with the Secretary of State's. And I think the way that they've crafted the bill, I think we should have some very positive results.
That sounds wonderful,
Looking
actually.
forward to it.
Interesting.
Bipartisan.
Yeah.
Bipartisan. I think Maggie Toulouse-Oliver worked with the Secretary of State and Lisa Taraco to come up with a really good bill.
Bipartisanship is clearly overrated. Nothing more than like what happens when you eat large quantities of chocolate.
Stop that now. I want to stay with you for a second. We get e-cigarettes, a ban to minors, also passed. Is that a problem? Looking for a problem to mate with? I've always wondered what this e-cigarette thing with minors.
E-cigarettes are becoming more and more popular these days. The companies are promoting them in the same way that they promoted cigarettes in minority neighborhoods to young people through billboards and other still legal
Flavors
ways of advertising. So I really commend Senator Ryan for doing this. I think it was a priority of the Interim Tobacco Revenue Settlement Committee. And it's something I think that will tell kids, basically, there's no easy way out. You can't pretend to have stopped smoking and be smoking because it's equally addictive.
There you go. We had a bill about ending civil asset forfeiture, which is a big deal around for some people. We've had some famous cases around New Mexico, folks being pulled over, 15 grand in cash in their bag, police saying, you must be up to no good, I'm going to take it. Can't happen anymore. Are you supportive of that bill?
You know, I think there are definitely some constitutional issues there, right? I mean, I think sometimes we have to, in our sort of eagerness to go after the quote unquote bad guys, we don't think about the consequences. I think there's some legitimate legitimate constitutional issues that we have to think about.
I think it was a great bill to be passed. I mean, I think it was way past the time.
You've been on the record on this show with that for
and
a
I
couple
think
years.
I think that every time we allow the government to just keep expanding its tentacles and we tell everybody it's under the auspices of making you safer, I never feel that much safer when it's over.
I would say, but worse than that. And finally, there are people who've been caught up in these civil forfeitures where their vehicles were taken. They were not guilty, and they have to pay to get them back.
That's right.
They have to pay. And then there are auto dealers who have a car and an impound, and the people just walk off because they can't pay the impound fee. The unintended consequences were severe, and we were not getting
and it's
the
not even that you got
results.
to pay to get it back. There's examples in New Mexico where they've taken a car, the person's been innocent. By the time they get through the process, the government says, car got sold 6 months ago.
That's right.
Where's the money?
No
luck with
recourse.
that.
It's in the
Exactly
general
right.
fund.
Exactly.
Can't help you. So
Yeah.
you're out of car, you're out money, and you're on your own.
And these are people who have not been convicted.
That's
I
right.
think that's the
That's the
bottom
key.
line.
That's right.
You know.
And for the
Interesting.
government to ever say, it's okay because it'll only take 10 days to get your property back.
You know, I
Only
wasn't
10 days.
very old. I remember back in the days when the whole drug awareness thing started,
Yeah.
you know, and you started watching all the, you know, when I lived out in rural New Mexico, you had all of those DWI task force and all those. And, you know, it didn't take long that they were driving around in nice Corvettes painted up with all kinds of signs. And, you know, it was always like the nicest cars in town were owned by the guys that were seizing stuff. And it just seemed like a bad philosophy.
We've got one more in there that interested me, and that is Senator Feldman, transparency, sunshine. To the portal. We've got state contracts now wanting to be put up. Is that going to solve a problem as well?
Well, there was some information about contracts that was already on the Sunshine Portal, but this will require the entire contract to be scanned and put in there, and also will easily allow you to see whether this is an out-of-state contract or whether this is an in-state contract. It's something that the business groups have been asking for. Small businesses in particular want to know, and I think this is a very good thing.
Big issue with construction companies, because people would come to New Mexico and want to work in New Mexico jobs. So they open an office, put a phone in, and they say that they're ABC New Mexico LLC, and every penny of that's going back to Delaware or Arizona or Texas. And it was hard. You know, remember the big story for the one construction company where they had all this government work, I think a few years ago, and they went and filmed the office. The office was a phone sitting on the floor. There was no one in there. And so I think it really helps people know that, you know, you're getting work done by New Mexico, in New Mexico, by New Mexicans, for New Mexicans. And that's something we should be trying to encourage as much as possible.
That makes sense. That's all the time we have for that. But that's all the time we have for now. But head to our website at NewMexicoInFocus.org for more topics like this on the clock.